everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Up Supercast Game Club. It's me, your host, Brandon. I hope everybody's having a great day today, because it's the best day of the week when the Game Club comes out. Every 2 weeks. But it's the best day. Every single time. I know you're excited. I'm excited. And you know who else is excited? Will.
Happy Thursday.
Noah.
It's not Thursday.
And illz.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
You sound super excited. You should be excited because you picked the game that we played this week.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
first game.
Hell yeah.
The inaugural illz game here on the Game Club, his first game ever. We threw him a bone. We're like, you know what? If you're going to be here, we'll let you pick games.
Well, I picked a pretty good game, I'd say.
I'd say so. What did you pick?
I picked Castlevania Bloodlines, bro.
Castlevania Bloodlines? Oh my god. If you didn't watch the last episode when we told you that we were playing this game, that episode was on God Hand. Go watch it or listen to it. It was fantastic, by the way. That game, well, the episode was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know about that game.
The game was, whatever.
Take a few steps back.
The game was good. We're not gonna let the history look poorly on God Hand.
We were fair. We were fair with our review.
Yes.
We didn't give it a 3 out of 10. So
That's true.
We were very fair with that game. But this game is maybe a little bit better than that game. Who knows? We'll find out today. Castlevania Bloodlines is a platform action adventure type game published by Konami and developed by Konami as well. Released on the Sega Genesis all the way back in 1994. Released worldwide. The one and only Sega Genesis Castlevania game. Was it the first? I don't know if it was the first non-Nintendo Castlevania game.
I believe so.
Maybe it was.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, I think so, yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. Do you call it the Commodore? Because the Rondo Blow was on that, I think. I think it was the Commodore.
I mean, it depends on when it came out.
And wasn't, what is it? It's like Dracula Castle, or no, Haunted Castle.
It's Dracula. It's like, no, Haunted Castle was an arcade.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not on Nintendo, so that's...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I guess one of the most major Castlevania games, then, if we're gonna be,
Sticklers about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But the first major, I guess, Castlevania game released on a non-Nintendo console. So I guess that's kind of cool. It's for the time. The first and only Genesis one.
Absolutely.
And Castlevania Bloodlines is a super interesting game if you don't know anything about Castlevania. But I'm going to ask illz real quick. illz, why did you pick this game? Let everybody know.
There's a lot of history between me and this game. I used to have a Genesis. I used to have this game. And I was just really, scared to play it, to, finish it. I was just really, as soon as I got to stage 3, I would just be terrified because everything was happening so fast. Now, I mean, I was a kid, and, this game really took advantage of, that edgy, persona that the Genesis had with, the blood and the gore that wasn't really present in the other Castlevania games. So, there was a lot to deal with when I was a, little kid, 7 years old or whatever.
Yeah, true. It does. And, Castlevania as a series is known for, it's got obviously a spooky vibe. But you are right where this game kind of was able to take a couple extra liberties because it wasn't on a Nintendo console, and Nintendo's kind of known for their family-friendly atmosphere and kind of a little bit of censorship. They're a little bit more strict.
Yeah,
I guess
they were a lot more protective of their kid-friendly image back then.
Yeah. And I think the fact they didn't put a number in front of it, and it's sort of positioned a little bit as I don't want to say a side story, but as a spin-off of sorts, I guess, would be the best comparison. I think they had more liberties to play fast and loose with the aesthetic of it, and to put it with more of a horror slant than even Castlevania 4 had.
Right. It's definitely I would call it a spin-off, I guess. I know it's still,
yeah, it's part of the timeline. It's more like a dark horse, I would say, not a spin-off, because I think it still counts, but not it's kind of regarded in a weird way, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's got an interesting storyline.
It's wild.
It is wild. Will mentioned this at the beginning too. It's the storyline. Obviously, it's around Dracula, because what Castlevania game isn't, right?
Of course.
You can't have Dracula. You can't have Castlevania without Dracula. You can have Dracula without the Castlevania, but not vice versa, really.
Not in my world.
True.
Yeah. So the game concerns Dracula and Elizabeth Bartley,
Yeah.
who is in this game Dracula's niece.
It's supposed to be an analog of Elizabeth Bathory, which is a
Yes.
countess from the 15th century who was said to bathe in virgin's blood, to keep herself young.
Yeah,
Big ol' serial killer. Loved the murder.
killed a lot of innocent people, unfortunately. But this game draws from that.
Let's not think of her too badly for that. I mean, we all want to kill people, don't we?
Well, okay. Not getting,
This will be used on the court record in a couple of years.
Feel free.
So we find ourselves, she's Dracula's niece.
Yeah.
And trying to
Even monsters
resurrect-
gotta have family.
Well,
Even monsters gotta
Why
have
not? I
family.
mean, love is eternal. It goes everywhere.
And in this game, she starts World War One, right? Is that what
Yes.
it was?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she kills the Crown Prince of Austria, starts World War One.
To gather the human
everyone-
souls capable of resurrecting Dracula. She missed her uncle that badly.
What the fuck?
It's love.
What a
It's
story.
love. Just be
Yes,
happy.
I guess. Your family,
It's so wholesome.
It is. And in this game, you play as a couple of cool dudes. You actually have a choice. Unlike other Castlevania games before it,
Well,
this game lets you play as two different guys.
just as a little aside, it's not the first Castlevania with multiple characters, because Castlevania 3 kind of did that.
3.
Where you switch characters.
Yeah.
But this is a game where you pick, you have multiple characters and you stay with them the whole game. The one you pick.
You choose one at the beginning, and you get to choose as either John.
John Morris.
John Morris, straight out of Texas.
Red
That's what
yeah.
I like about Texas.
He got the vest and the
Yeah.
jeans and suspenders. He's going to war.
Very close to John Morrison from Red Dead Redemption. Very similar.
But that's when now we know John Morrison origin story. Both from Texas. Makes a lot of sense. And he's got the whip, the classic Castlevania whip.
Yeah.
Not as versatile as it is in Super Castlevania 4 in this game. It's a little more stiff, but he is it helps him be more acrobatic. he can swing and shit, from the ceilings, basically anywhere. You don't need a grappling hook.
Right.
You just
Okay.
only a couple spots where you have to do it, but it is fun to do. It's kind of cool. But he's more mobile that way, but the rest of him is kind of more stiff than it is in Super Castlevania 4.
Yeah.
With the whip.
But the breakdown is that he's the more powerful of the two. He hits
Yes.
harder, and I think he has a little bit more defense. I'm not sure about that.
I'm not 100% sure, but the other character that we haven't talked about is Eric. And he uses Alucard's spear, which is pretty cool. That's his weapon.
This is a spear made by
And-
Alucard from Symphony of the Night fame, the son of Dracula. And this takes place after Symphony of the Night chronologically. So, I mean, it's a kind of cool story that they don't really dig into, but you can kind of piece together for yourself.
Yeah, Castlevania lore, so I'm not super big into it. I don't know everything about it. But it is, in the games don't really tell you a ton. You actually have to read up on it kind of to know about it.
Yeah, and you make your own inferences. I think it's fun to, kind of do some guesswork, what might have happened or, all that kind of stuff. Fill in the blanks for yourself.
I like that Eric's girlfriend got turned into a vampire, and that's why he's going out to kill Dracula. It's just listen, she's a nasty vampire now. She's got weird teeth. I gotta go kill this undead nightmare monster so I can have a girlfriend again. So
I mean, that's the inspiration, man. It's good. He's in love. He's a man in love, and he uses his spear, like we said, which makes the game easier. In my opinion,
easier.
I played through as John on my first playthrough, and spoiler alert, this game's 2 hours long, so it's not a super long game, if that. Yeah. My second playthrough was maybe an hour or so, because playing through it again, I played through it as Eric, and boy, was it so much easier the second time around, because I had already played through it, and just Eric in general, the reach of the spear is a lot further. So
Gigantic.
It makes it a lot easier to not get hit. To move around enemies. You can hit straight up with it, which with those aerial enemies is a godsend.
He also has a little
because with John, if you want to hit up, you have to like jump to do a diagonal.
Right.
But it's so you have to time it. It's very, very tough to do. But with Eric, it's a lot easier. And he also has a super jump where if you hold down, he starts flashing for a second.
Does
you can jump the whole damn
he does a
screen.
pole vault with it.
Yeah.
And it does damage when you do it too.
Yeah. And you can jump and like spear yourself straight down. He has a thing where he spins his spear in a circle. He covers a lot of ground.
He's a badass.
I mean, yeah. I don't know the exact history, but if I had to make a guess, it feels like the levels are designed with you playing as Eric in mind. 100%. Like, because when I played as John and then when I played as Eric first and second, with John, there was like a ton of the bosses are like way up in the air, and they just, you have to either wait for them to come down to be able to hit them.
Oh, God,
but with Eric, you're just like stabbing constantly. You're just constantly getting those hits in. Like when there's tons of way more flying enemies than normal in a Castlevania game. It sort of really feels like they designed it in mind with you to have the 8 directional attacks.
Well, to be fair, the 8 directional attacks didn't really come into play until Castlevania 4, and they don't really show up again in any Belmont-driven game. So I mean, playing with John is sort of like classic mode, I would say. And I don't find anything wrong with that. I mean, I originally played as Eric, and I thought it was pretty, fun to have the up and down attacks. But once you play as John, you realize that he's stronger and also he moves faster. So you have, you can put yourself in position a lot better, and you can dodge a lot better. So I'm not saying, I like Eric more for sure, but John is no slouch is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I like John. I think John is cooler looking, but Eric is just easier and I guess more fun to play as in turn. But if you want to challenge, play as John. That's
of course he's cool. Of course he's cool looking. He's wearing the vest with the ripped sleeves, with the suspenders on. Come on, bro. He's brawn and brains right there. He's looking quite dapper.
He is. Speaking of how they look, one thing that really caught me off guard was Eric in particular, how he's blonde in the opening cutscene and the ending cutscene, but in his in-game sprite, he has like blue hair.
Yeah.
Like, what's up with that? Like, it's like the link between Link to the Past
problem.
Yeah. Where it's like, why the hell does Link have pink hair in that game for some reason?
Well, that's the thing, though, is that, like, and this is funny, they changed his appearance in the American version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they thought, he looks, because if you look at it for the European and the Japanese box art, he's like very Bishonen, very pretty boy, and they thought the Americans won't want to play as a pretty boy. We need to make him have a stronger jawline and make him look a little different.
Manly man.
Got to be a manly man. Even though John's got that covered. You already have John. You can have Eric be a different look, but no, apparently
that's why they make Kirby angry in all his covers instead of happy.
That's true.
Yeah,
Nintendo thinks we're just a very angry people in America, which I mean.
Well, I am.
Yeah.
Well, have you? illz pointed out what Eric looks like in Castlevania Judgment, the fighting game on the Wii.
He's like a child.
Oh boy.
Powerful look. Everyone in Castlevania Judgment is a powerful look. No one looks normal.
That's one way to describe it. Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that.
You
would
look
be the
at
word
it and
I'd
you
use.
recoil. It has. You will be surprised.
Yeah, it game's something else, but we're not here to talk about that game. Maybe one day.
Oh baby.
Maybe one day.
Shit.
What a game club game that would be.
Maybe someday. This game's got, I think there's 5
6
levels, right, guys? Like,
Yeah.
6.
is it 6? Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of flew by, but it was a fun time. So the levels are all pretty straightforward.
One
I think
second.
there's only,
Can we just talk about
Sure.
how John Morris is supposed to be the son of Quincy Morris? It's supposed to tie into the Bram Stoker novel of Dracula. Yeah, did you guys know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I had no idea.
So
Which
Quincy
is, yeah.
Morris is a principal character in Bram Stoker's novel who dies from wounds when he tries to slay Dracula, or when he slays Dracula, and they just try to like meld these two stories together for some reason. I have no idea why. It's so weird.
That is super weird. Yeah, like, why? Aren't they like separate
Well,
universes?
apparently they needed some kind of legitimacy for something. I don't know.
That's very weird. Well, so the layouts of these games, they go by stages, and they go in the classic formula of there's a mid boss halfway through, and then a final stage boss right at the end. And the level design is very good. I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed each stage has its own like unique look. Classic Castlevania, a lot of them. You travel all around Europe in the game. You go through France, Germany,
Italy,
England, Greece. Yeah. And I don't know. I really like the level design here.
Yeah,
They
it's
did a
pretty
lot of
cool.
interesting
And,
things.
they
with
have
the
like a
Genesis.
lot of twists and turns. It's not just constantly going to the right. It's like they have a line that's like
Oh, yeah.
spinning constantly, like the spiral platforming, and
Yeah,
it's really cool.
The Tower
I
of
really
Pizza
like the
level, yeah.
design in it.
Yeah, they
They did a lot of cool stuff with like the 3D effects. Not to the extent of that rotating room in Super Castlevania 4.
I think it's more extreme than that in this game.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot going on in some of these levels, especially stage 3 and stage 6.
Mm.
Stage 6 was those
Yeah.
weird optical illusions, and stage 3 with everything was spinning.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The optical illusion. Yeah, you were in the
Oh
hall when I
yeah,
was playing.
I
that,
greatly
and
enjoyed it.
It was fucking me up trying to figure out the jumps because you would it was weird because they would split the screen into a bunch of different like parts, but like I guess like just like where your middle, it was so weird. It was like where your feet were I guess where you actually were located.
It's a thing where, I mean, spoilers, I played this on ROM, I think we all did, and I definitely thought for a second, is my ROM messed up? Is something gone very wrong? But you're like, no, this is the gimmick, is the thing. Yeah. I mean, because it definitely feels like we're doing this game on the Genesis. Let's like do some stuff that it feels like technology wise, like the Genesis could do. Like the Super Nintendo. Who knows? Just developing different platforms. Like they got wild. Every level they like had some weird idea they wanted to try out, and it works most of the time. Like there's a couple times where I'm like, oh, this is making my head go nuts.
That's stage
but I
3
enjoyed
in
it
a
by and
nutshell,
large.
basically.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Speaking of that, yeah, there was the bosses are very interesting in this game, and the bosses stage 3 was a piece of shit. I'm gonna say it. Guy was an asshole because on that one you're on like a
You're on the Tower of Pisa.
Basically throughout the level you're traversing the Tower of Pisa, and you get to the top, and it's for some reason that makes no fucking sense to me. It's constantly spinning.
You don't like that it's on a
Non-stop.
turntable?
You're on a roller coaster.
A giant evil bat on a fucking turntable for some reason, and playing it as John with the only being able to hit him like diagonal whip, and he's flying all over the place, and also moving all over the place.
Yeah.
I was like, I hate this fucking boss.
See, I had axes, so I just had no issue.
That's the thing, though, is like if you're playing as John, like basically most of the bosses you want to walk in with your bat. I mean, with your axe. I mean, like it's really useful to have the overhead attack because man, just so many enemies do just hover above you for so long. There's a couple that don't. There's the gear monster man, which is weird. He's a gear monster, and like Frankenstein out on the ground.
Yeah, he's like just made out of like trash and shit.
It's funny because Castlevania very much like, especially early on, is like heavily inspired by having the big monsters in there, and we have a couple, right? Like we get
old monster movies. You get Frankenstein monster,
but then also you get the weirder ones like the bat on the top of the
Yeah.
Leaning Tower of Pisa, and you're like, all right, here's this gear monster man. Okay,
Yeah, it feels like the iconic
monster
monsters turned up as mid bosses. Like the first stage mid boss was like the werewolf, and then the what was it, fourth stage mid boss was Frankenstein, the super tall Frankenstein.
Yeah, Frankenstein. There was that one guy who like summons, like constantly summoning water.
Oh yeah, that
If you
asshole.
don't kill him fast enough.
Oh
he'll
yeah, that
drown.
sorcerer dude.
He was very easy with Eric, but with John, if you get too close to him, he transports. And I was having trouble with him the first time I fought him. I couldn't get close enough to him.
It's funny though, because like I mean, the divide on like fighting as John versus fighting as Eric, where it was like, maybe it's just because I played through first as John, but like, man, when I played as Eric, there were times where I would fight a boss and would get hit like once or no times at all, where with John I'd be like, oh gosh, I have to, I'm gonna die once or twice probably before I can figure out this.
Once you get their rhythm, you pretty much got the game down.
Yeah, their patterns are very like once you learn the patterns. That's
especially
easy.
You know what's a weird boss too? Was the one where it was like a pillar that would turn into two guys' faces and it would just shoot out orbs.
I got so confused with that boss. Like, what the fuck was I supposed to hit? I had no idea. For so long.
Yeah, me too. I was just hitting the orbs and I was like, why am I not damaging this guy? I can't hit his face. And it's just... And because you see the pillars lined up in the background before you get to them. And none of them, posed any issue. So you don't think in your head, obviously it's that pillar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another great thing about this game, or at least the structure of it, the first stage is actually Castlevania. That's the castle. You're just...
Yeah.
I thought that was amazing
like,
to give you that,
get out of the way
that as a foundation. You go past the dilapidated castle, and then you realize, oh, the whole world opens up. This is not, your end goal like it is in other Castlevania games. So I thought that was a really strong narrative jumping off point.
Yeah, I like that.
And it makes sense because like Dracula's just came back, so like the castle's tied to him, so it's like not fully rebuilt yet. So it's a cool way to tie it together. I like that there's just a bunch of random skeleton soldiers that just have on like army hats.
I love that bit.
Skeletons.
I fucking love it.
Yeah, I loved that too. The skeletons the skeleton soldiers were awesome.
What's up?
I have a question for you. How did you guys feel about the soundtrack?
I thought it was good. My favorite part was stage 4. Well, no, stage 4 was my favorite, but at the end, oh my god, the end, so fucking hype-inducing.
It's funny because when I was looking up Michiru Yamane, sorry if I get that wrong. Like this is her first song. She went on to do everything after this, basically. Like she's most well known for Symphony of the Night, but it was a weird experience because I would listen to it and I'd be like, this is really good compositions. I just wish it wasn't on the Genesis sound chip. Was sort of my thing. Like a lot of times I would go back and listen to the soundtrack sort of like to think about the songs more. And I was like, man, I would love not even a remix, just like an updated version.
Wait for Smash Brothers,
songs, which hopefully, we get in like Smash Brothers. Put your fingers crossed. But that stage 4 is going to be in Smash Ultimate, so let's hope it gets the old glow up.
Glow up. Oh God. So the last level of this game in particular is pretty much just like a boss.
Yeah.
You fight Death, and which is classic Castlevania. You're always going to fight Death, and you fight him. And when you're fighting him, he has all these tarot cards, and each one you hit a tarot card, and you have to fight a fucking boss from one of the other levels. They're a little bit easier.
Did you guys play Cuphead?
Yes.
It's very King Dice from Cuphead. Like,
it is.
Right,
it
like,
definitely is very King Dice from Cuphead. Like right before the final boss, you have to fight like his henchmen, and you have to fight other bunch of mini bosses in between.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely, yeah. And I had the very bad luck of getting to him, and the first card I hit was the health one, and I got a health fill up, but I hadn't fought any bosses yet. I was like, oh.
Yeah, if you play in the harder mode, I don't even think they give you a health one.
Yeah, we didn't even mention it. You do unlock a expert mode at the end when you beat the game.
Yeah. So if you play in that mode, he doesn't give you a health card. He just has 3 of those attacking cards. The death attack thing that he does.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't even dare. When I replayed it through the second time, I was like, I'm not picking expert mode. Fuck this.
It is funny though, because like when you do get to him, death almost feels very trivial. Like once you get through the little gauntlet, like when I actually fought him, I don't think I got hit once.
He was pretty weak. He was like the weakest incarnation of death I think I've seen so far in the Castlevania series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was very easy.
And then you fight Bartlett, and I like really interesting. Fight. That was a cool fight.
That one was very easy too.
It was easy once you got the pattern down.
Yeah.
Especially the Medusa phase. They do this a couple times. I don't know if it was like a thing that they discovered how to do and they liked it a lot. Like momentum, basically. Like they would charge at you, and if you just kept stabbing, they would like be held off, you know? Or if you kept whipping if you're playing as John. But like so like she has a two-phase thing too.
Yeah.
Though
she does.
I notice it more overall. Like this is a game that rewards ducking a whole lot. Like actually, like very rarely in old Castlevania games would I like actually find a lot of time to duck and just sort of stay there. But there's a lot of moves with, especially in the final bosses, like with her and Dracula, where you can just duck under tons of the things that they do if you just stand in place. And I thought, I actually kind of appreciated it because a whole lot of the time you just sort of like it's a move that's essentially worthless, especially in early Castlevania games.
I duck all the time.
Well, I mean,
always
for real.
ABD, always be done.
ABD. I like that when she died, her head blew up. I was like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
The game. I was like, this game's violent. What the heck?
I didn't even see it in my first playthrough as John, but when I was playing through it again as Eric, there's like
stage 6.
It's like stage 4 or 5, maybe. There's like an outdoor area with all these like wyvern, like harpy looking things. They're not harpies, I don't think. But when you kill them, or you can actually stab their heads off, and they still fly around.
Yeah.
And when you stab their heads off, like they just like turn into a blood fountain.
Mm-hmm.
I think they first appear in stage 2.
Holy shit! Is it? Yeah, it's crazy though, because I didn't expect that at all. Like,
which is funny because they censored a bunch of that stuff for the European and the Australian versions of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Where they even changed the name Bloodlines, right? It was like, it got renamed like Castlevania New
Generation.
New Generation, yes.
Yes.
My favorite era of the WWE, and also Castlevania. Yeah, and so like, and there's parts in I think level 2, right, where there's like just blood dripping from the ceiling. They changed that to water. They got rid of the blood spurts off a lot of enemies' death animations. So it was very funny that like
even the title Bloodlines that's like drenched in blood did not. They changed it without the blood in the European and Australian versions.
Yeah.
So narratively, I think this game is kind of crazy. I mean, the fact that they set it in the throes of World War One, like I thought that was so like interesting to me. It's like she's the niece. All right, we said this already. Like she's the niece of Dracula, and she did the assassination of the crown prince or whatever. But obviously she did that to get enough souls to revive him. But like I'm a huge fan of podcasts like Hardcore History and the in-depth discussions about World War One. So like that kind of extra knowledge about the time period made my imagination run a little wild with the implications of all this. You know what I mean? Like this.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, especially as Castlevania goes on and, like, it becomes, like, a lot of the Game Boy and the DS games are, like, set in the modern times, and it's, like, Castlevania becomes this weird alt history, almost, right? Where, like, the general events of our time happened, but also Dracula was involved a whole bunch, too. And it's very... And
the stages in the game, I mean, they're all countries in Europe, and, famous landmarks and stuff. And I found myself kind of filling in the blanks of what these characters were actually doing, like, traveling through this continent in the middle of World War One. You know what I mean? So they're going off to fight demons in already a war zone. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Exactly.
The skeletons have soldier helmets.
That's so crazy. Like they have German soldiers' helmets in the German, munitions factory that stage 4 is.
Yeah.
You're in Versailles for like the France.
It's so nuts.
Right? Like, it's a whole thing. Yeah, they got wild. I appreciate how wild they got.
Also, the theme of like new characters instead of the Belmont clan, that also kind of ties heavily into the World War One aspect, where you're kind of losing old traditions and like new traditions have to be formed up. You know what I mean? So like whole families were like slaughtered back in those days because of the war. So now we have you could like kind of think of a idea of where like why the Belmont family wasn't around. You know what I mean? So that's that's what I was thinking of when I was playing this game. I don't know if you guys had any thoughts about it.
No, I was not thinking about any of that. I was just like, oh, this is a cool.
I was like,
Castlevania
man, Dracula, when he becomes a beast, has a big old mouth on his crotch. Ha. So, I mean, we were in different headspaces.
Honestly, I haven't played every single Castlevania game ever. I did play like Symphony of the Night. I played the DS ones and a little bit of like the original and some of Super Vet Castlevania. So I haven't played every single one ever though, but I played a good amount of them, right? But I will say I thought this seemed a little bit easier, I guess, maybe than some of them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Even with John, the game seemed pretty decently easy.
I think part of it is
a
that
challenge.
Enemies don't do as much damage as they did in older Castlevania games. Part of it, or maybe you just had more health chunks. I don't know. Either way, but yeah, it was. This is a game that you can sort of, I mean, not leisurely go through, but like there wasn't too many times where I was like stuck on a stage for a particularly long amount of time.
It seemed less cheap at least compared to some of the older ones with.
There were some parts where I was like this, like with like the spinning blades. I think in stage 4.
Oh yeah, that was
and stuff like that where you're like, this is
bad.
just sort of.
I really didn't like those spinning blades.
Tedious. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So there's a couple moments where you're sort of like, man, like if I rush this, I'm gonna take damage, or like I can sit here and do it tediously. But besides
that, there was that one spinning blade that I was like, how the hell do you get through this? And thank God illz was in the call because I was about to have to look up a damn walkthrough. Because it's spinning in the opposite direction and also very fast, so you had to like just get in there and duck and keep doing like a little inching your way forward and ducking at the same time.
Yeah, like this is like the time where you kind of wish you had the duck crawl move from like Castlevania 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or it was a slide or something like a Mega Man slide. But I will say I do prefer. While this is a ton of fun, I actually obviously prefer Castlevania, like the Metroidvania style of Castlevania games over the classic level based style.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but me personally, I love.
No, yeah, I love that. I just think I like them both. Really, I love classic. I love classic Castlevania.
Same.
And I love.
Yeah, I like them both. I didn't say I didn't like this.
No, I don't feel like. I just feel like they're different beasts. I don't really have a preference between one or the other. Obviously, the Metroidvania ones are going to be a lot longer, a lot more in-depth games. But
yeah, I mean, like
I always thought it was interesting that Metroidvania is a term, considering how Metroid, did that.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Like that style of game way before Castlevania decided to also do it.
Yeah.
But now when
I mean, I think a lot of this has to do with like the nature of how spacey Metroid has been as a franchise, right? Like you have Metroid 1 and Metroid and Super Metroid, and then like a huge gap, right? In the meanwhile, where Castlevania shows up and we're like, we're doing it now. The thing they used to do that we haven't seen them in like 5 years, we're doing it now, which I think is part of the problem.
They did take a lot of time off, but it just seems interesting to me that Metroid did it so far before Castlevania as a series, but everybody calls that genre a Metroidvania still. Metroid. But I love it. But this game though, it's still I still like
it's also
a lot.
It's also really colorful.
Dracula.
Like when you get to stage what was it? Versailles was 5, and then Proserpina was 6. Those stages are gorgeous. Like really colorful. Like the colors just pop. It's really beautiful.
See, to me, I think I prefer like Castlevania 4's look more than this game.
I mean, I love Castlevania 4,
overall.
don't get me wrong, but I felt like this game was a lot more brighter. Just I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, it's Super Castlevania 4.
Yeah, well, we're sorry, Brandon. But, yeah, I mean, I think that part of what Bloodlines is that it is really just unique among all of the lineup on it. Yeah, I mean, among, like, the old Castlevanias. Like, this one, like, there's just, like illz sort of mentioned earlier, like, there's just so much that is differentiating itself from the other types of games. Like, I imagine at the time, like, Super Castlevania 4, for Brandon, and like Castlevania Bloodlines both coming out at the same time, maybe it was like a weird comparison, but looking back on it, I think you can with time appreciate the stuff that Bloodlines does bring to the table, which is really interesting.
You guys, what did you guys think of the sub items? I thought it was weird that there was only 3 of them.
Yeah, I mean they have
and
the
one of them was
yeah.
pretty much
The
useless.
axe.
The holy water.
yeah.
In the holy water.
They have the item
No
burst
knife.
thing from Bloodlines, so I think that maybe they thought, well, if we have the burst thing, then we would have to do, you know, more.
Well, it wasn't
of
like a
those.
super powerful move like it fucking does in Rondo of Blood, where it just fucking throws 1,000 knives with the knife sub weapon.
Which was sick. Yeah, I kind of
But
missed it a
like
little
that,
bit. but-
I know they were fucking awesome, but they are like they offer a little bit more. Like for a little extra gems, you use up a move is like easier to hit, does a little bit more damage. Like
Yeah.
it those 3 axes
Yeah.
like in a straight line instead of in like an arc,
Mhm.
or like
Yeah,
the
I like
boomerang
that.
where they like throws 3 boomerangs and it's like a circle that revolves around each other. And it's pretty. I never checked the holy water because I never used the holy water, but yeah.
Yeah, the holy water was garbage, and I usually don't like.
I
the
love
knife,
the knife.
So I was like, oh, the
God
knife's
damn
not
it.
in this
Yeah.
game. Cool.
Well, there was also another
Knife is
one
awesome.
when you got the fire whip or the fire spear.
When you got powered it up all the way, because once in a while it would drop this like little pendant thing, and if you like got
Yeah.
enough of them without getting hit, I think it was.
Well, I mean,
You would-
so long
you
as
would be
you're
able
at
to power
the
it up
max
all the way,
weapon,
and
that
you get an extra
extra power up can come up, and then you'll be at the the fire stage. But once you get hit once, you lose it. Yeah.
Mm.
You
It
lose
goes
it.
away. Yeah,
I
but
was
it's
gonna-
super powerful.
I was going to briefly mention a thing I really liked is that right after you beat what's
Bartley.
her name? I was going to say Christy Brinkley, still around. Bartley. You
Oh yes.
and you're going up to fight Dracula. Simon's
So
theme
good.
starts to play. and
So
you're like,
good.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. A thing that I wish they did is because I found this out is you can put in a cheat code to like in the sound test or using the password system to unlock a bunch of Castlevania songs from the NES games. And there's a way that if you put in the proper password, if you get the max power of your weapon, it starts playing like either one of the main themes of the first 3 games, basically. And you're like, oh, that's a really cool thing. Why is that only locked away in a way you would only know if you looked it up on the internet? But I thought it was interesting
That
to
would
make
be a
note of.
really cool feature to have.
Yeah. Dynamic music is cool in games when like, you get to be you get all powered up. You feel like the cool guy. You're like, oh look, I'm being the vampire killer. Like
I thought it was a
everybody
little
else has
weird that
been
the cross
for me.
wasn't in
That'd
this
be
game.
cool.
Yeah.
Anybody have any thoughts about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is weird.
I mean,
like
the
Well,
cross was
I mean,
basically the
yes,
boomerang.
but
Yeah.
also, I mean,
Comes back, but
I kind of got obsessed with this game a little bit, as you probably figured
Oh.
out by now. So when I was thinking about this game and it being set in World War One, like I just thought of like the time period where, in this time period there was so much slaughter and people began to lose faith. So I thought maybe the characters themselves wouldn't use crosses anymore; they would use something else instead of like a religious artifact to help them in battle. You know what I mean? Yeah, I really went into it. It doesn't. You don't have to follow me
Kind
exactly.
of makes sense, yeah.
I don't know.
But then why is the holy water still a thing, though?
Yeah, I don't know.
it's fine. It's I
get
mean
where
like
you're coming from,
it
though,
is
yeah.
neat because you can have because it's trying this new thing. It lets people that are fans of stuff like this be able to run wild a little bit, right? Not unlike our dear Lord and Savior Bowsette. Like when you take a long running series and you introduce like a new concept to it, people that are fans will get the chance to sort of like explore like what are the implications, what are the fun parts along the way that like you don't get to do if it just stuck straight to you're in Dracula's castle and it's the same as Simon in the first game and it's the identical story. Like it's having the new scenario be introduced, I think
Yeah.
gives space for thoughts like that.
Any other thoughts?
So guys,
Speaking of,
I think I've said pretty much all I really wanted to say. I got it all out, but overall,
Is there anything
I love,
you guys
I
didn't like
this
about
a
this
lot.
game?
It's very great.
like I said, the John Morris stuff, like there was a couple times where like, especially in stage 5, where they're just like constantly spitting flying enemies at you and dropping them off, and the rate's really fast, and I'm like, come on, this is clearly designed with like Eric in mind. I feel like looking at it now, or sort of just being able to traverse that way instead of having to constantly stop to kill these little flea guys as they're coming in.
That part was really fucking annoying. I
mean, I
remember
just
that.
threw a boomerang behind me and just kept
Wait,
going.
no, that part was
Yeah, I
Eric
mean,
only.
you could do stuff like that, but like,
Wait, what?
No,
No, you
played
can do
through
this,
it as John.
we didn't mention that there is parts
Yeah.
where they're exclusive to each character, which is cool.
A
But
little
I
bit,
don't remember.
barely,
Very- a
like
couple.
once or twice throughout the game. Yeah, you do. You definitely do. Because I remember
having.
my first playthrough playing through it and being like, I hate
I think
this
it's the
part.
Leaning Tower of Pizza is like one of them, where with Eric you have to jump up with Morris, you have to swing across the giant gap.
There is, yeah. That's in like.
I feel like I had more
stage 2 or
trouble with
3,
Eric
I think.
during that
I think
part
it's 2.
because John was, he could move faster, so I could just dodge them instead of attacking them. Yeah, always.
Flea guys are annoying.
you guys are
I'll
annoying.
give you that.
But and I
I
guess
didn't like. There's not like a lot of this game that I really hated. A lot of it I was just chalking up to. Okay, it's a Castlevania game, so it's going to be kind of tough.
Mhm.
But I guess overall it wasn't as tough as I expected because Castlevania to me is usually a little bit tougher than that. Or Castlevania to me is honestly sometimes it's really cheap with the getting hit and knocking backwards thing.
yeah, especially that.
It didn't actually seem to affect me that often.
It only happened to me.
Like,
The
There's not a
upside
ton of
down part of
pits in
stage
this
6,
game,
that was kind
overall.
of a bitch. With the
Yes.
no, with,
I was gonna
with
say
the, in the context
Sorry,
of
go
being
ahead.
knocked back into pits. Yeah, that was where that usually happened for me.
yeah.
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 And like going on the second playthrough, obviously they had these fun gimmicks along the way of like, when you're at the lake and it's like mirroring, right, and you had that stuff in the upside down part of stage 6 and the part where it's split up. But like and it was like fun in the first time where you're like, whoa, what's happening? But there was a couple of times where in the repeat playthrough where I was like, all right, I get it. Like this isn't particularly fun to play
Which
through
part?
on a repeat sort of. The parts where it gets a little, I think, overly gimmicky, which is, I mean, it's really only.
Oh
mostly in
no!
stage
Once
6
I
is
figured
that
out,
complaint, I
the
think. I think
jumping
outside
of that optical
you can
illusion
sort of
thing,
still do
that
it.
was a piece of cake. That was
Yeah, once I figured it out, it was easy.
but it wasn't like enjoyable to go through the second time, right? Like there are times where like I get the gimmick, but once I get the gimmick, like the actual game part of it isn't particularly like unique or a thing that I enjoyed that much. But I mean that's nitpicking a little bit because it's only because
I think
played
most of
through
us
with
did,
both
yeah.
characters
Didn't
that
we
I
all?
realized that on the first playthrough.
no. Did you play
Yeah,
with
I
both?
played through with both.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So like three
No, I
or
don't play
four
with Eric.
of us played with both. Yeah. So
3 out of 4.
well,
But we all beat it. The streak continues, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Streak's still going, and if you've been listening saying, where's Saf this whole time? And if you probably were saying that, you probably shut it off by now. And let's be honest, nobody's saying that. We love you, Saf. But if you were saying that, Saf's not here. He's still on the injured list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he will hopefully be back sooner than later.
He'll be
We
training
miss
in the
him.
performance center soon, and then he'll be back.
Yes, it's his. And don't worry about Saf. He's okay. I guess I didn't really get into that. Just he's on the injured list. It's just his hand is. He plays a lot of video games. That man.
And he works a
And-
desk job, so his poor hands.
Yeah,
and
so his
fingers are
hand's
suffering.
pretty. It's feeling a lot of pain. So he's giving it a rest. So he's right now taking a little break from the game club.
Yeah,
Some of us
you
respect
kind
his
of-
decision. I was gonna say we, but
that's
then
some
I
weak
knew
shit
Ilse was
right
gonna
there,
say,
bro.
I don't.
Mhm.
But he'll be back, so don't worry about him. Anyway,
He's joined Muzi on a
guys,
farm upstate.
I just want to, real quick, would you recommend this game to somebody else? You don't have to get super detailed into it. You can just, honestly, if you want to say yes or no, sure. But if you want to get a little bit more detailed, go ahead. Just don't go. Just you don't need. We don't need your damn life
Damn, I
story.
feel like
Nobody
that was
gives a shit. We
directed
just
at
want to
me.
know if you recommend this game to somebody else.
fuck you, bro. Fuck you.
No, just doesn't direct it at anybody. I'm just trying. I'm just trying to work the flow.
Well, I guess I'll
of
go
the
first.
podcast.
And yes, I would. I love this game. I took initiative.
I was gonna let you go first anyway, so I'm
Thanks.
glad you did. Yeah, good
Thanks,
job,
buddy.
You're a man. You're always doing that, Ills. We appreciate it. Will, would you recommend this game to somebody?
I would, especially if you're a fan of Castlevania.
Okay. Noah?
Yes, for sure. Even though, like, if you're new to Castlevania, this is actually a good, like, nice soft entry point too. It's like you don't have to know the lore of the Castlevania or anything. It's just fun to play.
Agreed. I agree with all you guys. I would recommend this to somebody. And yeah, Noah, you made a really good point.
As good as any other. I mean, it's
a
pretty
good entry point
accessible.
to the series. So
I'd say.
definitely.
Especially for somebody who wants to
for
experience
sure.
classic Castlevania.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, definitely.
I feel
definitely
this is
is,
one of the
yeah.
last like classic Castlevania
It's
games,
this-
wasn't it? Yeah.
It's this
Yeah.
and Dracula.
I mean, she literally went from this to
Sorry.
Symphony of the Night, the composer did, and I don't think they looked back, sort of. Oh, no, I was just like looking at the composer's like list earlier. It's like she does this, then Symphony of the Night, and then every Castlevania after that is Metroidvania. So like, yeah, it's sort of towards the end of the life of the heyday of the traditional Castlevania games.
So with that being said, guys, it's time for Castlevania Bloodlines Final Judgment.
The
We
list.
put it on the list.
Flawless!
Hey, I'm learning something.
Hills, you were even on at that time. The full house. Well, now that you picked the game, Hills, it's our tradition around here that whoever picked the game for the game club gives their opinion
Well,
first
I will happily
on
uphold
where they
that
think it should
tradition,
go on.
and I will say
the
that
list.
this is a little bit hard for me because I haven't played a lot of these games on the list actually. But I would say that I would put it above Limbo.
Okay.
All right. So that would be 30
32.
to 31. I always do this
32.
wrong.
No,
32? I did it right the first time.
32.
Dang it.
Yes, 32. And if you're listening, you can follow along and take a look at the list and see what we're talking about. There's a paste bin in the description below.
Okay. Well,
No.
Bills,
I'm
I'll be
not
honest. I
crazy.
thought you were going to put it way higher. But
I love this game, but I'm not a crazy
right.
person. Come on.
I respect that.
Is it-
I put it above Cave Story.
You see, I was gonna say
I was
that,
gonna
but
put
then
it
I
above
haven't played
Supermassive
Stardew Valley or
World.
Cave Story, so I'm just gonna go with you guys on that. If you want to put it higher, I'm totally for it.
Okay.
I put it. That's interesting. This is interesting. Because I mean, Cave Story is also it's still a pretty damn good game.
Yeah.
I'd put it above Limbo though, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Limbo's a game that's just. We said it about it before in past, I guess, discussions, but it's the game that's oozing like style, and it's it's an interesting game, but you can beat it very quickly, and it doesn't really leave. At least this game has going for it that it's more action, and it gives you that more incentive. There's more replayability to it because you got two different characters that play a lot differently than each other. So I would definitely just thinking at that. In general, I would put it above Limbo for sure.
Plus expert mode if you really want to go for it.
If you really want to. I don't even think Limbo has an extra mode. It has collectibles, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, even like in the experience of playing through Limbo the first time, when I got to the final parts of it, I was sort of like, okay, we can wrap it up a little bit. Like, I'm ready to.
To be fair,
ready to
it
see the
has
ending.
some really cool ideas.
whereas-
and
I mean, it's a short game.
Yeah.
It only takes like
some cool problem solving.
It did have some cool stuff, but
definitely did. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it definitely did. And that's a game, too, I would suggest to anybody if they want
Of
to
course.
check it out. Like, I would recommend Limbo to anybody, really, too. But, yeah, Castlevania Bloodlines, though, I think is definitely better than that. So,
Yes, sir.
that's out of the question. Get out of here, Limbo. I think we all agree on that one.
Yeah.
Cave Story, though, is an interesting one. Cave Story, has a lot going for it, too,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of, fun gameplay. Is Cave Story? It's been a long time since I played that game, so I'll be honest with you guys here. But it's like they're not Castlevania, Metroidvania type game too, isn't it? In a way?
Kinda.
It's not level progression, right?
There, it's
kinda
pretty.
open world?
It's level based. Then you go back to the hub. Then you go to another level, sort of.
Okay. It's been a long time, honestly, since I played that game.
Yeah.
So.
I would say that going back to Cave Story, like 3 years ago, basically, the platforming was a lot more basic than I remembered it being. There's just sort of a lot of not necessarily overly complex stuff going on in terms of either the gameplay or the shooting, it combines to be an enjoyable game for sure. And I think that like the story is really neat, but I would put it Bloodlines above it because I think that overall the soundtrack's stronger. I think that the scenario,
The level design is much better.
yeah, the level design's a lot better, and I think that just the sort of like scenario of Bloodlines I think is really
Maybe
interesting.
more than you
Gil's
guys
touched
wanted,
on it a
I
lot
think.
in the discussions
You
about
guys all shut down
like-
after I said anything.
it. No, I was
I
interested.
mean, I respect it.
No,
I respect the hustle and the, especially the interest that you have for that.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
It's
definitely.
actually.
I mean, I think it's
was
just really
interested
cool
Just,
that like
yeah.
it touches upon a lot of the Dracula stuff because like what's her name? We forgot to mention the serial killer lady. Like a lot of her stuff got brought into the story of Dracula, like when Bram Stoker wrote it. So
Yeah.
having John be the descendant of the killer of Dracula in the book, having incorporating more of the Dracula mythos and the stuff and the history. Led to the creation of the story of Dracula in the Castlevania is super neat. A lot of other stuff along the way. I also really enjoyed just little moments of like, oh, that's really neat in Bloodlines, where with Cave Story, I liked it a lot, but I have trouble remembering parts of it, and I played it relatively recently.
I mean, I played it a long time ago, so that you can imagine
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm drawing a blank on this game. Saf's weeping somewhere right now.
Saf,
by
I
the way.
can hear the tears across this deer.
I can hear
across the
the
pond.
tears hitting his hands.
Yeah.
Like they're just hitting his injured hand, and they're not healing it either. He doesn't have rejuvenation.
So
tears.
we
It's
seem
just
to be
making
agreed
everything
that
worse.
it's above
Poor-
Cave Story.
poor Saf.
Stardew Valley?
We love you. Okay, you know what? Stardew Valley.
That's a toughie.
I put it below
Yeah.
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley is a very good game.
Mm-hmm.
We say that about pretty much every game.
Well, yeah.
Should have been higher.
Going up. As we go up, we're gonna keep saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Stardew Valley, I don't know if I would want to put it above Stardew Valley either.
Mm-hmm.
I think Stardew Valley has a lot more going for it. Just overall, obviously you can play Stardew Valley a lot longer than you can
Yeah.
play this game.
I mean, yeah.
But that's the thing.
apples
Is like
to
there's
oranges,
two
but-
very contrasting things between Stardew Valley and Bloodlines. Like one is a pumping action game where it's like once you make it like
Yeah.
I'm going through this level, I'll kill all those monsters, blah, and the other one's just like the most fucking calming game that just makes you stress free of everything. So it's like very
It
different
is.
experiences right there.
It's the fun of the list is all of a sudden we're comparing Stardew Valley with Castlevania Bloodlines. Only here on the Jump Up Supercast Game Club would this conversation ever happen.
Yeah.
I really love to, and I didn't talk about this a whole lot before, but I really love the way that Stardew Valley like unfurls its secrets to you. Like it doles them out at a really good pace for a farming type of game, right? Because oftentimes, the same basic thing you're doing at the beginning of the game is what you're doing at the end, right? Which is farming, interacting with the people, going to the mines, all that other stuff. But, over the course of basically the sort of 3 years that the game gives you before it sort of checks your progress, they really every so often add just enough along the way to keep me interested over, what is ultimately like 90 hours of game time. In a way that like even going back to it, because I played 100 hours on PC, I played like 70 hours on Twitch. Going back to it for the second playthrough, I still found like little things to discover along the way that I didn't know beforehand in a way that I really liked. Where with Bloodlines, even on my second playthrough, like I enjoyed it a whole lot. Obviously, playing as Eric was really different than playing as John, but like I don't know if I would like to go back for a third time. That maybe that's a personal thing, but it's why I would put maybe Stardew above Castlevania in this situation.
Like the thing that makes me put Castlevania a bit higher than Stardew is like, I mean, they both have their qualities. They're good, great music, soundtrack. It's like the visuals are very interesting and pretty to look at, but the gameplay is really fun. But like Castlevania has that end goal that strives you to go and play and to reach. Stardew Valley does not have that. Like you think
You
in
got
the beginning,
Grandpa.
it's just like you build up your farm, but there's no real goal. It's just do things. It's like
No,
that's
I mean
where
there is.
mine-
One of the things I like a lot about Stardew Valley is that it gives you the grandpa goal, right? Where like sort of it infers like I'm gonna check in after 3 years, do as much as you can before then, and like you can pass or fail, and like and depending on how well you did, the game will sort of be like you did it or you didn't, and it'll give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and so like it gave me more of a drive to hit that to go farther in that game than I do with a lot of
But I think
traditional
what-
farming games, and also
I think what
to,
Noah's saying is
diversify.
It's sort of like the
Right, like, I
difference
didn't
between
just
like
farm.
something like
Didn't
free
just
form
farm.
between something like narratively driven. You know what I mean? Like something like Skyrim where you can explore every direction,
Yeah.
but the main storyline doesn't really matter that much. As opposed to
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's like I said, apples to oranges, but I think this already gives you, because I think if it was like giving you like a, go to this point, you got to do this thing by this day, go this way, a lot of the charm of the game would fall off, right?
Yeah.
But they give you just enough with the community center, just enough with the grandpa check, just enough with sort of,
Yeah, but
with-
like in
with a-
the
of
end,
a
they
guiding
don't
hand.
really reward you, or like you don't feel like you're accomplishing much. You know
I
what
don't know. I mean, I
It's
feel like
very
whenever you
little
finish
bit, but
those
it's
bundles,
not enough to drive me to like constantly want to like keep going. Because like if I miss like a deadline, like you say, like one of the timed events, I'm like, whatever, I don't care.
I mean, I think that's fine for the nature of that game, but like when I did finish the community center and the Joe Jamart guy's like, we're gonna go on sale, and the store gets closed down, and that guy who was a huge colossal dickhead to you the entire game has to move out because like
Damn.
you've helped rebuild this community.
like
I was like, oh,
gentrification. What's
that
going
was
on
like
there?
a conclusion that I was like engaged in.
it's messed up. That's messed up, Will.
Yeah.
That's
But,
that's what it extremely is. Like, yeah, it's messed up.
But in general, like Castlevania has a conclusion, like a much better conclusion for the game, and I can appreciate that, especially like a level design, like a level based game. It's like, I mean, of course, you can't really say that for Stardew because it's not a level based game. It's like you go at your
Right,
own
it's
pace.
not,
It's
it's-
open world, blah blah blah. But
It is two different
yeah, it's
types
two
of
completely
games, and
different
if-
things. But I prefer.
And if you value that over,
Yeah, that's why I'm saying
game
like
like Stardew, then sure.
that's the little thing that makes me value.
Seems like
Castlevania
these
just
two are
a little
deadlocked.
bit more than
Brandon,
Stardew
you
Valley
want
and
to
to
jump
put it
in?
above it.
You have any thoughts?
I would say I would put this underneath Stardew Valley, mostly because I fell in love with like Harvest Moon games, and while those were similar, obviously, but or not obvious if you don't know, but Harvest Moon games very similar to Stardew Valley, and this. I get it. There's no real definitive ending, but you're always working towards something in those games. Eventually, you're gonna get to the point where you're like, all right, I accomplished everything I wanted to, and the game's not gonna have a definitive end. And I get Noah's point, where maybe for some people you might not like that because you might feel like, okay, I did everything I wanted to do, but like I want like a wrapped up. I want to feel gratification,
Yeah.
but I think for some people just completing a checklist of I wanted to get my house max upgrade, I wanted to start a family, I wanted to earn this much money and buy everything I could in this game, and for some people that's enough. It's just, okay, I did it, now I feel good about it. I don't need the story to tell me that it's done for me to be like, I'm done with this,
Mm-hmm.
so for me that's how it is. It's like, for those type of games, I get what they are. So when I do complete everything in the game I wanted to do, I'm okay with it not being like, hey, the game itself telling me, hey, Brandon, you did it, the game's done, and me just being able to walk away and say, I had my fill of this game and it was fun. So in that case, I prefer, I guess Stardew Valley is pretty much one of the most complete Harvest Moon type experiences there are. Some people say it's the best Harvest Moon, even though it's not a Harvest Moon. I think there might be maybe one or two Harvest Moons that could be a little bit better than it, but it's definitely one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
So
All right. I
I
mean,
don't know.
I can't say
think
anything about it because I
I
haven't
would
played
put
it.
it below.
It sounds like it's a game a lot like Animal Crossing, but that's another series I haven't played. I'm not really into those lackadaisical kind of games. But I mean, if that's what you say, then I have
Similar,
to go with
yeah,
it because
yeah.
the majority's ruling.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay. All right. Do we do it then?
So it's where is that on the list? Because I wasn't
31.
looking
I
at
think
it.
so.
31.
There we go. 31 on the list. Very respectable though.
Yeah.
Yeah. This list is getting higher and higher. So 31 is it's going to be overall it's going to end up being a pretty high number. Anyway, it's if you're looking at the list now, if it's at number 31, it's the games around it are number 29, we got Super Mario 3D Land. Number 30, we got Stardew Valley. Number 31, we got Castlevania Bloodlines. Number 32, Cave Story Plus. And number 33, Limbo. That's, I think, the first time on a list that we've ranked a game, and I haven't been able to be like, hey, that's another Game Club game. Go check that episode out. So
It's true.
I didn't get a chance to do that on this one, but go check out more Game Club episodes. They're out there.
What's the next closest one? Let's take a look. It's Alundra.
Alundra.
Definitely play that one.
That's a good one. That's our one of our first ones.
between Bulldozer and Alundra.
And that's a great game.
It's a
both
great
club
game,
games.
man.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to both then.
And they're both good. Both good games. Go check them out. Go watch those episodes if you haven't yet, and share them. And this one. But before we go, I gotta go run through a few things real quickly, because I love you guys and I know you guys want to know about it. If you like this, if you want to hear more, like I said, go check out all of our other stuff. The Jump Up Supercast, the regular episodes we upload every week. We talk about video game news. It's a fun time. You know, Saf's there, so if you missed Saf this whole episode, you'll find him there. And also check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Sometimes we're posting what the next Game Club game is. So if you love the club and you want to know what the next game is, check out Instagram. And if you want to see us play video games here and there, follow us on Twitch. Jump up to twitch.tv, Jesus, / Jump Up Supercast to find us there playing video games here and there. But thank you guys. But before we go, we got to talk about Noah.
Me.
It's your turn.
It is my
to
turn.
pick a game.
We are going to be playing Discworld Noir.
What?
Discworld Noir. Never.
Yeah, none of I am 100% sure none of you have
but
ever heard except
what?
Brandon because I talked to him about it.
How do you?
That's the
okay.
only reason.
Noir.
Oh, jeez.
Discworld Noir is
Goddamn Euro trash.
That's why.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
as the name implies, it's a detective game, or from what I remember, is a detective game. I had this game on the PlayStation. I think my brother also had it for the PC at the time. I barely remember it. All I remember is a guy you're looking to find. You're a detective that's trying to find this guy named Mundy. I don't remember if it's bad. I don't remember if it's good. I just remember really
This is a real
weird
shot in the
scenes
dark,
in it,
huh?
and I want to go back to it and find out what the fuck that game was.
This guy has a strong chin.
well,
I looked
I always
it
do.
up. The main character has a strong chin, so look forward to that.
So, yeah, man, 2 weeks from now,
2 weeks.
2 weeks on a Thursday, you'll find us playing Discworld Noir.
What?
Thank you guys for joining us, though.
I also picked that game.
thank
Just
you.
quick mention. I also picked that game because it's like kind of like a point and click adventure game, kind of. So Saf will be able to play it.
Oh, maybe our injured friend can play. I want to thank Noah. I want to thank Will.
Thanks.
And I especially want to thank illz because he picked the game this week, and it was a great game. Thank you. Thanks for not picking a shitty game.
I always aim
like
to
I
be
did
better
that
than
one
you.
time when I picked Blinks. Go watch that episode. But, well, in this case, comparing to Blinks, you did a good job. But I just want to thank you guys. And everybody who listened, thank you. Go have a great day and play some video games and be nice to everybody.